What are we talking about?
I am pumped up now.
I'm ready to rock and roll. What are we talking about? Okay, so
We're
you
trying
had a
to get each
brilliant
other.
idea
I have one or two of
of
those a year. Yeah.
yeah, and then you write them down. This happened to be one of them. But you had a brilliant idea to do like gotcha questions was the general idea. The idea being that we would ask each other some tougher questions that we might get from a client and answer them on the fly in hopes that it will share some insights with people who might be answering similar questions. But I think really more to the point is that we just want to see if we can make the other one trip up in front of an audience. I don't know if that's where you're at.
It's just entertainment on my end. Yeah. Of things.
It is.
Watch you sweat.
Can you tell? I did the you know when people go on TV and they do like the powder.
Did you borrow your wife's powder and just dab it on?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. She told me to make sure I blended the contour before we went on this podcast. I don't know what that means.
I was
don't
going
think
to
I did.
say, no, you didn't blend the contour. And this is, by the way, why, folks, if you're listening, why you should be watching on YouTube. You get to make fun of Taylor with me.
And my unblended
Uncontoured.
contour.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I guess like this is kind of like the dueling questions.
Yeah.
Which I think it'll be fun. We kind of hyped it up as like a battle, but I think it's more of like a supportive question and answer period.
Yeah.
A little malicious intent.
Yeah, for sure. Always got to have a little malicious intent. That's the purpose of the podcast.
Of course.
Just low key. Yeah. But I have an advantage because I cover all of marketing. You picked a channel, or a particular kind of marketing called content marketing. Yeah. And then you picked a very specific industry to do it in. And so you'll live and die by the success of these questions today.
I have dreams and nightmares about that exact thing. Depending on the day or the week or the month or the year, I have dreams or nightmares about that. But so I'm going to be asking you some broader questions, and you'll be asking me some more focused questions. And I'm going to try and do some analogies because I've just gotten so tired of you having all the cool analogies.
Yeah.
I kind of was like, I need to have some cool like go-to phrases. So when people ask me a question, so I've been kind of like, I put my thinking cap on all weekend and was like, what kind of content analogies can I come up with?
Was it a Bass Pro hat? Your thinking cap?
You like that hat, huh? I'll bring one to GWA for you. I'm sure you have one there, but it'll be more meaningful as a gift.
I don't own one. My wife says we shouldn't use hats on the podcast, and I told her she just doesn't get it.
It's just us, man.
I agree.
Well, I've always just thought you got to be authentic.
Also, I said don't give Taylor style tips. You know, like it's him that we're getting advice from here, right? Remember that.
Do you need style tips for GWA?
Has
she advised you that?
She has.
Because it's coming up pretty quick.
It's coming quick.
Quick little plug here. We're doing a panel at GWA.
Yeah, multi-location marketing.
Yeah, don't want to miss that. Us and Ruben Lau from Spacefully.
So and managed by the one person who could possibly do it, Jamie Russo.
Or would do it.
Exactly. I wouldn't.
The one person who could.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't moderate us.
Yeah. So maybe like this Q&A, this dueling questions will probably be like the preview. So if this is good, that'll be good. No, that'll be good.
Anyway. And if this is bad, it'll be better. So like a completely different topic. So
it is a completely different topic. All right.
Okay, let's get into it, I guess.
So what are we doing? Are we going like what's the order here? Do you want to go age before beauty sort of thing here? Or?
Well, the thing is I'm older and better looking, so it's just it's a tough call.
Then take your pick.
I'll go first. We're gonna come out the gate strong.
You're gonna ask me first.
I'll ask you a question. Yeah. I'll put you on the spotlight because
all right.
I'm the senior partner here, the senior co-host.
The senior partner. Yeah. All right. Let's do it. Fire away. What do you got for me?
Well, okay. Just to preface, I did give you these questions in advance, but I saw both of us furiously typing in notes right before this interview. So clearly, we slept on it for a couple of weeks.
We had a little bit of runway here to get these done. I was also just in Europe for 10 days, so my brain only started working yesterday.
Okay.
So any thought that I got from this before this was in the last
10 minutes.
last 10 minutes. So we're ready to go.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna just come out the gate hot, right? So we're talking
Come out of
about
the
your
gate.
your content, right? So I'm trying to get you with some tough questions here. How do you
Hmm.
measure the ROI of content? And like, can you give me some practical examples of how writing or content in general can lead to a profitable outcome?
Yeah. Are you ready for an analogy?
I was born. I'm
Are
born
you
ready.
ready?
Yeah, I'm so excited for this.
So I look at content marketing like an investment account. It starts small, it starts slow, and you build over time. You add to it, it gets bigger and it compounds. And eventually you have a tool that's paying dividends and growing at the same time. Was that all right?
Just trying to. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Are you reinvesting the
So
dividends, or are you cashing them in?
always reinvest the dividends.
Okay, got it.
Well, it depends on how you're looking at it. No, if the dividends are profits, then do with them what you like.
Cool.
I
Yeah,
think I
yeah.
just
It depends
butchered
on
that.
your
I
strategy.
butchered it.
Depends on your strategy.
Depend,
Yeah, your investment
depends on your
strategy. Yeah, yeah.
strategy.
Okay.
I had like the beginning of that analogy banked out.
But
I
you
didn't
didn't expect to
plan. I
take it
didn't
all the way.
plan for I didn't plan for a follow up question.
I guess it's almost like it feels like it's not even worth it in the beginning because you're checking. You're 15 years old. You
It is
start your
okay.
investment account. You're checking in your $14, and then when does it become
Yeah,
worth it?
exactly. When you go to buy a house later
How many years later?
In Canada anyway, like a number of years later. But so like it's one thing. Like it's if you look at content versus Google Ads, right? Like Google Ads, you're going to put your money in. You're going to get a pretty significant uptick in leads right off the bat,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Content's different because you're ultimately relying on organic, right? It's brand building. It's not you're not paying for it, so it's not or you're not paying for leads. You're building something over time, right? Which is what I was talking about with the investment account.
Yeah.
So um, you have to be kind of ready for the long game with content. Like you will get a payoff, but it takes time because it is organic,
So
right?
walk me
So
through exactly how that happens. So you're publishing content. What's the story of how content leads to sales?
there's a number of different ways, right?
Yeah.
And so this is something that I just shot over to you over the weekend too. But I was looking at like this kind of flywheel of what content does, right? So at first you want to bring people in, attract new members once they're in your doors. You want to retain them as best you can using those tools at your disposal, and then you want to create ambassadors for your brand and utilize that ambassadorship to help draw in new leads. So if you're thinking of it like a flywheel, that's kind of how it works. But so then you kind of get into the granular aspects of it, right? For each of those pieces of the flywheel, or each portion of the flywheel, you have levers that you can pull. So when you're talking about ROI, there's a few things you can do. You can do blog content, you can do email content, social media. So without getting too granular into the weeds here, like back to your question as far as content ROI. I think there's a couple things, right? You can track things like if you publish a blog article on a topic like getting a virtual address. I'm only thinking that because we did an article for a client recently,
Sure.
right? But
Yep.
so you write an article on that, it starts ranking on Google, people find it, they book a tour through your blog, your sales team gets in touch with them, closes the deal. That's your content over time, bringing in a new lead.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, if you publish,
I was going to say on the same note, even if they don't come in through the front door of your content, we've seen how content can contribute during the sales cycle, where someone asks questions and goes, "How am I going to do that? How am I going to can I customize this thing or whatever?" And they're like, "Well, let me show you some resources about how it's going to save you money versus traditional office," or so we can complement the sales process, even if it's not top of funnel marketing. But
yeah, 100%. And so I'm trying to keep this as high level as I can, so I don't go into
I'm
the
trying to
weeds.
get you into the weeds. I'm trying to get you into
The
weeds.
last, the thing I hate the most is when you tell me that your eyes glazed over.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
then I just feel like everything that I just said.
Sometimes
was like
I
out the
say that
window.
even though it really sounded good and smart. I just sometimes say that just to keep you honest.
Okay, so maybe let's like look at this from like my flywheel perspective, right? So first step is attracting new members. So that's where like the SEO thing would come into play, right?
Yep.
A keyword that you want to rank for, somebody comes through, goes to your blog post,
For
books
example,
a tour, your sales team closes.
like
For example,
best co-working
how to
space in city, for example.
yeah, I mean, I was trying to think of something a little more like precise. I'm thinking like
Okay.
how to get a virtual office. It's low barrier, right? It's an easy thing for someone to convert via the blog. You're not going to probably sell a private office from a blog post. You're not going to like put up some single blog post and somebody's going to go like, okay, cool, I'm going to purchase this $1,000 a month office. However, with something like getting a virtual address where it's a low barrier digital mail or whatever it is, and it's like $60 a month, your odds are better if somebody comes in off that topic through that keyword, books a tour through a form on your blog, goes to your sales team, or they self-serve purchase it, whatever it might be. But the same principle applies to any keyword, right? This can work the same way over time. You start getting traffic onto your page for kind of bigger ideas, and eventually end up in your sales cycle.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so
you're looking
in
at
that
it as a
same
top of funnel in that example scenario from a blog post. What about the impacts of social, right? Like you write this blog post, maybe they find you on organic. Are there any benefits to the social media component where people start sharing it, you start sharing it?
Yeah. So social media is a whole other. So when I was looking at content ROI, my high level thought here was that there's quantifiable
Yep.
and there's intangible,
Yep.
and both are super important, right? The quantifiable is more of like the things like the SEO. Keyword leads to a conversion off your book a tour form. The intangibles are more of like the building your brand, right? Like it's harder to assign a number to building your brand, but then what are the implications of not doing it? Like if somebody looks you up online and your blog is dead, or your social media has nothing on it, or there's no newsletter going out, like what are they going to think about your space, right? Also, how are they going to understand what your brand's about if you're not the one out there telling them what your brand is, telling them what your space is about, who's there, what they can expect, like where are they going to get that information from?
Yep.
So social to me, like it plays more into the brand building side of things. Like it's impactful to a degree. Like if people find you online and they, book a tour through a link in your bio or whatever, but it's more of a brand builder. But you can also reshare everything. Like if you post a blog post, you put that up on social media. If you do like a city, like a guide, like best local coffee shops near us, and you put that on your socials, and then all the people that you mentioned, all the shops that you mentioned, reshare it, then you get this kind of exponential reach, right? Where was I before that?
So you talked about the top of funnel awareness, and then I don't know if the consideration funnel or like when they're considering you.
Yeah. So I was looking at it from like the attract phase, right? So you've got your kind of top of funnel keywords, blog posts, things like that. There's also kind of the more consideration phase. Like let's say somebody subscribes to your newsletter, or they get in touch, or they book a tour, but they're not quite, or they haven't converted. I guess that's beyond that stage. But if you have someone's contact information, you can send a case study by email to them, right? And eventually maybe they see a case study, book a tour, contact you, whatever it might be. You can also like use your newsletter to stay top of mind, right? All these things that keep you top of mind. So somebody's in a traditional lease right now and they have a year left, but they're looking for a new alternative. Maybe they're not ready yet, but if you're constantly in front of them in a valuable way, then maybe when that lease ends, you're the first space that they think of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. So discovery and top of mind when they've already heard of you through email, social.
Exactly. Get them thinking about you, keep them thinking about you. And then that's kind of where this retain thing comes into play, right? So if you've got a member there, you can actually use content to help with retention. You can do engagement surveys that provide you with data that you can use to optimize elements of your operations or whatever it might be. You can feature them on your blog. So like the retention, again, that's kind of something that's maybe a little bit harder to directly quantify directly to your content. But there are ways that you can use content as a retention tool. And then the third part of that flywheel is creating brand ambassadors. So you have people giving testimonials. You can automate emails that ask them to write Google reviews, all those kind of things. Plus word of mouth. How do you measure word of mouth, right? It's unless you have a form where somebody books a tour and you say, how did you hear of us? Otherwise, it's pretty hard to wrap your mind around that, but it doesn't mean that it's not important. So content's a weird one because there's tangibles and there's intangibles and all of them are important.
Yeah.
But there's a million different ways to quantify them or not quantify them, but they're all super valuable. Does that make sense?
They can be if you do it right. Well, I guess we'll figure out how to do that in this episode. Can I use another analogy that kind of makes sense to me?
Yeah.
So when you think about, before the internet or even now in the age of the internet, like you have newspapers. There's so much information you just wouldn't know if it weren't for newsletters, newspapers specifically, right? Like, my dad still buys stocks based on articles he reads in the newspaper. And
does he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, totally doing that. And it works. It's working out for him, right? So there's all kinds of stuff that's happening, I guess, about your business that people need to be educated on, especially if you're doing programming or if you're doing, events and you're doing interesting things. Having some kind of way to communicate what's going on, just reporting on the facts, educating people and helping them see what's going on, and then getting the word out there feels like an important thing that marketing is supposed to do, both from an awareness and then like a staying in touch with people, top of mind, like you said. What do you
Yeah.
think
Well,
that is?
I think that can be internal and external too, right? I think internally, that's one of those tools that you can use to keep people in the know about what's happening at
Right.
the space or across the spaces. That's kind of like a community building tool for people, right? Like letting them know that events are taking place. But from an external perspective, you can use that to create a little bit of FOMO, right? Your newsletter can be used to showcase like what it's like to be a member there, why they should be a member there. And eventually it starts to feel maybe like it's a bit of an exclusive club, or they're getting FOMO because they're not at these events, or they're not around all these members who have great insights to share or complementary skill sets or whatever. I mean, you hear all the time that co-working spaces, people meet in a co-working space and end up working together, or there's a client, like a relationship, they become clients or whatever it might be. So putting that out there, create a little FOMO, get people thinking about what it's like,
Yeah.
get them wanting to be there.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, you've sufficiently answered that question in terms of ROI. Obviously, I think part of it, the challenges here. Yeah, that was.
Do we get water
I
breaks?
came out really hard on you in the first one.
Do we get water breaks here?
I
I'm
did see
sweating.
some sweat drip down across your makeup forehead, but I think the thing you kind of touched on, which was like the intangibles, like a lot of content will make someone feel a certain way, and like ideally positively, but sometimes not. But so like not only are you just educating people and giving facts and reporting on what's happening in the space, creating FOMO, but you want people to build brand affinity, and I think that's where you're talking about member stories and just reporting on things that are happening can kind of create a feeling like, oh, or even some operators share their values, you know, socially or otherwise, and or what they focus on in the space, and so you kind of rally around common interests, I think, and that's a tough, very hard to measure factor, but how someone feels about you really does impact whether they'll buy, right?
It totally is. And I think that we can move on from it after this, but I think that there's also like you can create content, even if it's not like directly sales driving content, you can create content that sends signals about what kind of space you are, right? Like you can create articles that are like, if you're kind of a lighter hearted space for, you know, creatives, you can create content that's more just geared towards being interesting or being fun or being engaging. It doesn't necessarily have to be sales oriented, because to your point, that's all just working to craft this brand image of what kind of space you offer, and that helps connect with people too. Like how do you measure that directly if people aren't converting from your blog? It's
Yeah.
harder to do, but having that out there so that people can identify with your space helps them self-qualify, which I think is half the battle.
Yeah, I think that's a huge one, the identity factor. Yeah, showing your identity, and that will attract like people. So cool.
Yeah, like when we wear hats, you know,
Exactly.
on the podcast.
Some people don't get
Like
it.
we're showing our identity.
Some people don't get it.
Like, because if you think that we're really corporate, or like, you know, we're going to be in a suit and tie,
You'll be
and then we show up on the first call with a client
Yeah.
in a hat,
You'll
you know,
be
like,
disappointed.
yeah, it's like a bait and switch.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
moving on.
Yeah. She'll get it.
Okay.
I'll try to work on her on that one. We'll get our hats back.
Yeah. Well, I think we just need like a cooler repertoire of hats too. I have like
I
a
only
pretty
have
good
like
little.
one or two good ones.
I'll bring you one. I'll bring you like a cool out there
I have a
kind
big
of
head,
one.
just so you know. Like not just
Me
like
too.
ego, but yeah. Okay, good.
You know, when I was a kid, when I was born, my uncle called me Taylor Headlarge because I had such a big melon. It stuck.
I won't use that against you, I promise.
I gave it to you, so now it's yours to do with what you like.
Thank you. I needed that.
Yeah, there you go.
On to the next
All right,
question.
So, next question. Are we alternating here? Or
We can alternate if you want, or I
let's-
can just drill you for the next one.
No, I need a breather. I need to take the focus off of me for a second and put it back over onto you. So let's. Also, I don't want people having to listen to me for 30 straight minutes.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
So
Yeah, for sure.
I don't like listening to myself
Not
for
that
more
I'm
than 30
any better,
minutes.
but yeah.
Well, here we are. We have 115 LinkedIn followers now, so somebody cares.
Somebody does.
Boom! Somebody
Moving up.
cares.
We're moving up.
Moving up in the world. All right. I don't know how I'm gonna drill you on this as hard as you gave it to me on that
I came
one.
out hot. Yeah, it didn't even warm me up a little.
We'll fix it in post.
What's funny about that? Keep going. Let's keep it in.
All right.
Let's go. Next question.
All right. So, what would you say to somebody who thinks that co-working sells itself, that people either want flexible office space or they don't? If they're looking at it like, why do I need a marketing strategy? Doesn't this just sell itself? What's your response to that?
Yeah, I think you mentioned this point about people either want it or they don't. And I think fundamentally you don't create demand for something. You capture demand. It's like getting I'm going to use my analogy here, getting an old fishing net out in a river. If the fish are swimming that way, you're going to catch fish. If they're not, you're not. And so you want to go with where the fish are flowing, what they want, what people want, right? At the end of the day, this idea that you can manufacture demand is just false. We just can't do it. But we can tap into existing demand for things like meetings, for things like events, for having privacy, working in a collaborative environment, getting out of your house. Like, you can tap into these existing demands for things already. But the thing is, unless you're communicating, unless you're getting the word out there, which is kind of what you do through content and through ads and all these other channels that we do, no one's going to know, right? You don't want to be the world's best kept secret. Like, all problems are solved by marketing. And fundamentally, I think marketing is the main job. Yes, it is to impact the product, to make sure the product is right for what the market is actually asking for. But it's also just to report on the facts, much like that newspaper analogy we had. It's really about demonstrating what do we have that's of value to you, and making sure that that's not only clear when people go looking for it, and then ideally taking it a step further and getting in front of people who may need it before they're even really seeking it. And a lot of people, that's a challenge for a lot of people. A lot of us rely on Google Ads, which is when people have decided they want an office, they start looking to buy today. So that's great that you do that. But also then, how do you also report on the facts to people through content, through all the various channels you have, the various means you have, and demonstrate what the product is all about, and ideally line it up with what people are already wanting. Some people, the trigger is, I've got a new baby at home, so I can't work from home because all these things are happening, or maybe I'm downsizing my office and my 10-person team needs a 5-person at once, kind of at any given time office size. We're looking for both something a little nicer, but also a little smaller. So they're actually saving money, but they're also getting a nicer experience. So being able to talk about that, demonstrate that, using good photography, doing good marketing, really critical. But what you're not going to do is create demand for people who are not looking for office.
So I have a thought on the not creating demand thing. So I think anybody who's in this industry would agree that in large part there's an educational component that needs to happen before people even really understand what co-working or flexible office space is. I think you said on one of these episodes that, like, when you explain what you do to people, how do you explain it? And then I went off on this like crazy tangent about like, I do this and that. And then you were like, I just say like, do you know WeWork? And so what's funny is now that I've started testing that with people, some people are like WeWork, and I'm like, shared office space. So you can't manufacture demand. You can only capture demand. However, is there some in this like, niche of industry that we're in, is there some element of kind of manufacturing demand by educating people on what the product is? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it the same in this?
Yeah. I mean, chances are a lot of the people who you're talking to and saying, have you ever heard of WeWork? Chances are they're not in your target market. They're not a buyer on behalf of a team, and they're not a small business owner who may need office space. And so for them, the concept, there's no demand. You're just literally talking to a wall. Like, there's no, a lot of them don't even want to go to their office. Exactly. Which you're noticing a theme here, right, Taylor? So, yes. So where were we going with that? What was the question again?
Like, is it an active sort of manufacturing demand by educating people on what it is? But also, like, sorry to cut you off, but there's the people who I talk to who don't get it at all and aren't the buyer. Yep. But I think there's also sometimes prospective would-be buyers who still don't understand the concept at all. So are you creating demand by educating them?
Well, really, you're saying like, wouldn't it be great? Like, the way I describe it now, if they've never heard of WeWork, which is common as well, is it's basically office space that you can rent by, from small, medium to large, to an entire floor, to an entire building, that you can rent by the day, the hour, the week, the month, the year. So unlike traditional leases where you can have multi-year leases, et cetera. So if you said to someone, hey, are you looking for an office space and that you don't have to commit to a 4-year, 5-year lease plus build out and everything else, that you can essentially rent on an as needed basis? Yeah, cool. Well, by the way, we have this thing called co-working spaces, which, wasn't super prevalent, but it's now becoming more and more prevalent. Not prevalent enough, by the way. My nearest co-working space is like easily 25-minute drive from me.
Same.
And it's not that good. And so the better one is like a little further, and then so on and so forth. So it's tough out there, even in a medium-sized 500,000 person city. The options are scarce.
I'm in a bigger city than that. Like, I think North Vancouver is, well, I guess it's probably like that. My nearest one is really nice, to be fair. That's good. And I love it. Yeah. But it's 25 minutes each way. Yeah. And if you miss time of traffic, it's an hour. Yeah. So
yeah, exactly. So I think it's really about, like, for those people who are looking for office space or need one, and maybe they have a team and they're expanding, or or they want to get out of the house or whatever. The value prop is simple. Like you can basically come in and have a much better experience, number one, than working out of a traditional office that you have to create the culture, create an energy from. Also, it's more flexible and more convenient for you, and it gives you more optionality to scale up or down as you need to. So for those people who are in the buying, who would be interested in buying, or even at the co-working level, like you're tired of working from home, like you can get out, you can work at a coffee instead of a coffee shop where they kind of give you a side eye after 2 hours of sitting there, where you feel like you have to keep buying stuff in order to justify your existence. You can go there and hang out, and there's a cool environment. The coffee is flowing, and there's people who are doing similar things to you. And I know as a self-employed person, even most of my friends are not self-employed. So it's rare to have contact with people who are doing similar things, let alone in marketing. I don't know a single marketing person kind of in real life in my area. So you tap into these other existing needs of, hey, I'd love to connect with other people, or I'd love to be able to rent a nice office space, but I don't want a 14-year commitment because like I don't know where my business will be in 3 years, right? And so you're meeting them with the needs, with what they're looking for, and educating them on what's possible, and making it super accessible, which is one of the benefits of this industry. It really democratizes access to office space, which is awesome. For those who want
so you're grabbing your fishing net and going where the fish are going.
Essentially, yeah. And they may not even know that it exists or that they want it. So they're not thinking, oh, I need an office, or maybe they're fine with their office, but we've presented with a better option. They'd be like, oh, heck yeah, let me get rid of this thing and let me do this other thing. So it's, it's really about knowing what people are wanting, whether they're on the sidelines or are in a transitory moment where they're either moving out, moving in, downsizing, they're looking. Yeah. But so it doesn't sell itself. Nothing sells itself unless your product is so remarkable. Going back to our purple cow analogy, that people have to talk about it. But anything will be accelerated by marketing, by getting the word out there.
Well, if you live in Vancouver, where we live, real estate does sell itself. So all the real estate agents here, it just sells itself.
Well, there's more demand than supply in you're talking about residential real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not like that here right now, but. Yeah, so
I'm still salty about it, so that's why it just sits there and percolates, and then I have an opportunity, and it's like, pew, there it is.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know what you're talking about there, but yeah, totally, man. And so it really does depend on.
It's like the home buying process in the city.
Yes, exactly. We don't really live in a world where people are like clamoring for office space, So, and the market, smaller businesses especially, who is the bread and butter for a lot of co-working operators, don't always know what's available, and so they're kind of seeking blindly office space in the city, and then they're seeing huge leases, they're seeing small stuff. So it is tough out there, and it is noisy, especially if you're in any kind of a medium market. It's noisy. So marketing is the big difference. By the way, I was doing a search in my local area again for office space, just kind of see what's out there. What would I be interested in, and what are the experiences like? And boy, I was presented with so many options that resembled co-working, but gave me no details on the location, the space. There's no photos. Like there's just so many, like the experience was tough, and these people were outranking better operators, theoretically out there. So it's just noisy, even in a market that doesn't have a ton of options, but is a big city. It's noisy, right? So that's what good marketing will help you do, is cut through the noise for the right people in whatever way it makes sense.
Differentiate.
Yeah.
The purple cow.
Well, the purple cow is about getting people to talk about you, but yeah.
Right. Sorry, I'm trying to bring back all your analogies from the past.
Yes. Yeah, you can't remember all of them, but that's why we have AI. So
that's why we have the wall of fame and shame list.
Yeah. All right, on to the next question. With that answer, are we?
No further questions,
no?
Your Honor.
Okay.
I wanted to give you a harder time on that than I did.
I'll take back my time. Thank you. In the age of AI, where you can replicate almost any style of writing, and you can do so at a higher grade level than the average person can read at. So the average person reads at, I think, like a grade 5 reading level, which we have to.
It's like, yeah,
no shade,
which is crazy.
Yeah, no shade, whatever. Why should someone hire a content marketing agency like yours when I can just think up some half-baked idea and it'll do a better job thinking it through and even writing it than I would as a regular person?
That's a great question. And I was hoping you'd ask that because I had an analogy teed up for this exact question.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So think of AI like having a piano that can play any note. But what is that piano without a musician to write the song, right? The piano is just the vessel for the sound.
Okay.
The musician is the person who understands musical composition, who has the taste of what their listener is going to like, who's able to put it together in a way that connects, right? So AI is just a piano that can play any note. Without a musician, content marketing person,
Mm.
then how are you going to get anything of value out of the piano? You can sit down and you can do like the little, but you're not going to get
With the
Mozart if you
knuckles.
just sit down and
Yeah.
yeah, you're not just going to get Mozart if you just sit down and do it on your own. So
Well, here's the thing though. You're finding
it,
AI is able to generate, like, there's actually Spotify accounts that are getting massive based on AI that's generated. That's quite good.
it is, but who's behind it? Who's programming it though? But who's telling it what? Like who's prompting it to create
Oh yeah, yeah. Probably someone.
the quality of
Probably someone.
somebody who
understands
understands
music. Yeah, yeah,
someone who understands music,
yeah.
right? Like there's still a
It's not me.
technical element to music. It's not certainly not me. My dad is a musician. Don't have
You
that.
lost that
But
gene. Yeah.
my point being, I mean, I can play drums pretty good. Like I actually can.
Oh, cool.
I'll
Not to brag
you
or
know,
anything. Yeah.
not to brag, not to whatever. It's, not,
Toot
it's
my
just
own
it's
horn.
nothing. It's not a thing. It's whatever. It's just something I like to tell people. But my point being, right? Like who's behind those Spotify accounts that are churning out AI music?
Yeah.
Like there was
Yeah.
there's a couple of big artists now. Like do you know Timbaland, was like really big like in the 2000s, and he had like all these producers, yeah, obviously had all these big hits. He's starting to like lean into AI a little bit too, but like he's gonna get great AI music because it's Timbaland, and he already like he's the maestro behind it, right?
Right.
So it's the same thing with content. Like you still have to understand what good looks like. You still have to understand what good content is in order to create good content. You still have to understand the strategy behind it all, right? Like you can use AI till the cows come home to churn out like one-off pieces of content. They might even be like decent quality content, but are they part of a broader strategy? Are they speaking to your audience? Are they fitting together in a way that makes sense? Or are you just like shooting things out into the abyss and hoping for the best? So I think the like why you still need someone behind it in the age of AI is because you still have to have that. You have to understand what quality looks like. All AI does is take your prompts and act on them. So if your prompts aren't good, then you're not going to get good content. And you need a strategy, and you need all the pieces to fit together. You need to understand who your audience is. You need to understand what their interests are. You need to understand how to connect with them emotionally, right? Like I read this article that was Taco Bell ran a test, like a pilot project with AI drive-through attendants, and people lost their minds. They felt creeped out talking to the AIs.
Yeah.
They didn't like the experience of it, and then they walked it back, and they were like, "Okay, we're back to people."
Yep.
And I think the reason why is because there's still a human element, especially when it comes to strategy, but also when it comes like I mean, part of strategy is understanding what's going to connect with people and why and how to tap into it. But it's going to be a long time before anybody feels really confident and comfortable having like a high level strategy session or sharing their thoughts and feedback directly with a robot. There's still going to need to be a human there. So it's a
Yeah.
long winded answer to it all, but
Yeah, I think fundamentally kind of what you're tapping into is like, does this thing get a business result or not? And if everyone has access to the same tools and whatever else, like even part of my question was, well, AI can replicate any writing style. Well, you have to know whose writing style you want to replicate, or and that has to match the tone and expectations of the client, because someone selling commercial legal services is not the same as someone selling co-working space, and your customers may be different even on a space to space basis. And I have found that the more technically qualified I am, the more precise my prompts are in regarding anything I'm doing, and it generates better results. Not in content production necessarily. I actually stay away from AI for content production. I use it for administrative tasks and synthesis more than creation, which is a whole separate thing we can talk about another time. So it's really does this in an age where everyone has exactly the same tools. Well, we're back to the like capitalism's competition, right? Business is competition. So how are you going to excel against the other robots or whatever?
The difference now is that like everybody, to your point, everybody has access to the same tools, which makes things way faster to do. So we're already seeing a flood of content going out on the internet that's just like so,
and it's all getting trained on itself as well, which is
it's all kind of shit, and it's self-perpetuating. And so
by the way, if you swear, it'll reduce our YouTube algorithm for this episode.
I'll bleep it out. Oh, I wonder if we swore a lot with Hector.
Yeah, we did.
We'll edit that out
the other day as we were going. Yeah. Let the AI
What was it?
beep that out for
What is it?
us.
Yeah, but it's just like it's everybody's got this opportunity to flood the market, not the market, the audio, or the internet with
Yeah.
like terrible content, and so it's going to call back into question this like desire and need to create high quality content. In order to create high quality content, even using the same tools that everybody else has, you have to understand what good content is,
Yeah, and
and
what
you need
precisely you want said, and also the whole trust factor, right? If people think that your content is generated by AI, they're going to tune out, right? Like we know, like, oh, this is AI slop, so there's no signal here,
yeah.
right?
Even on LinkedIn, I'm not obviously don't want to call anybody out here, but I can I can log into my LinkedIn right now and look through the feed that I have there and all the people sharing, whether they're like profile building for themselves or whatever. Like I can tell you, and like I can go one by one and tell you exactly whose was AI because
How does
it
that make
doesn't
you feel? How
feel
does it make you feel,
it
Taylor?
doesn't it makes me feel like distrusting. It makes me feel kind of like you know
Yeah,
and don't get me wrong, I use AI all the time. Like we use it for our content because it does speed things up, but the difference is that we have original source material, unique ideas. We work with every brand, every co-working space that we work with has its own brand. We trained the AI based on that brand and feed it original source material like ideas and thoughts and interviews and recordings and so
yeah.
you're not getting something that's just pulled from
You're
all
getting
over the
actual
internet.
human ideas that
Yeah.
helps, yeah, to get
So
creative.
I love AI. Don't get me wrong. It helps. It's great for content. It's inevitable. But like talking about the LinkedIn thing, it doesn't, if you think that it's just like churned out not very good AI generated content, it kind of makes you just feel like I
So
don't
it's
want to
not
read. I'm
even
not going to
like
read this.
it's not even a matter of will this get you a business result or not, because that's the ultimate measuring stick. It's
Hmm.
will this turn people off? Will it make them feel negative about your brand, which is like a whole other risk
Yeah,
to
it's a
find
whole other can of worms.
interesting.
Because I feel like one of the things that you've said a lot and that I agree with is the worst thing that'll happen with bad content is that people will ignore it.
It's
I'm
actually
almost
much of the
maybe this is
opposite.
just
Yeah,
my
yeah, you're
maybe
right.
this is my own personal opinion, and maybe it doesn't matter, and maybe it's just because I work in it that I'm more particular about it.
Yeah,
But also maybe now as this is becoming more prevalent, it's not just that people won't read it; it's that people will be like a little bit put off by it, and
yeah,
then
that's actually a better point. Because by the way, that
yeah,
whole thing is, I tell people, like, just start creating. If you're wanting to get great content, like start putting stuff out there. Because if it's not that good, no one's really going to pay attention.
mm-hmm.
And then you'll get better, and then people will start paying attention, whatever. But I think your point is, like, if you do certain things in certain ways, it can negatively affect people's experience of you, and where otherwise buyers may not.
Well, I think what you should do too, and then I'll move on from the subject, is I think if you want to use AI, you should do a bunch of your own writing first, even if it's not great, but just to establish your own voice
Yep.
and your own tone. Even if it's you talking into your voice memo app on your phone, and then kind of like turning that into an
An
idea
outline,
or
or
whatever it might
yeah,
be. Have an archive of your voice in the way that you talk and what's authentic to you before you start using AI, and then go to our resources and download the 4-step prompt architecture for blog writing that I put together for everybody, because there is some stuff in there that's really technical as far as how you train it, what you need to ask it for, all the specifics that you need to give it to make sure that it's creating high quality content. But
it's at
I think yeah,
coworking.marketing/resources. That's our
resource,
website,
correct.
coworking.marketing/resources.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So all
cool.
that to say, I'm not downgrading AI, but do it the right way.
Okay, I didn't get you with that question. I will keep trying. Good answer.
I was I was ready.
You were.
Um, so actually, for this next question for you, I think we kind of alluded to this a minute ago, and as far as just doing things with content. So kind of along that line, if somebody's asking you, why is it so essential to have a dialed in marketing strategy? What's your answer? Like in a time when they can just go, okay, I'm gonna have my Google ads running here. I'm gonna throw some stuff on social here. I'm gonna, do a little bit of blog content here. I'm gonna, why is it more important to have a dialed in system, a marketing strategy that all works together rather than just doing piecemeal?
Yeah, I mean, there's
And that's a really big question. Sorry.
it's no, it's not. Like in a world where there's infinite things you could do, and infinite ways you could do things, and infinite frequencies in which you can do these things. What a strategy does is it prescribes at a high level what you're going to do, how, and why. And the answers to those questions are not something you devise as some big fancy strategist. You find them through talking to customers and people who buy your products and services. And so good strategy is just alignment between the customer the competition yourself and figuring out what gives you the best advantage. Therefore, where do you put your limited time, energy, and resources, and what do you do, how, and with whom? And so, yeah. So if you think of it as like a market, like we talked about this before, like you're in like a big, produce market. There's a customer, there's the seller, the buyer, and there's the other people, right? And so you have to be always thinking about the dynamics between supply, demand, and competition, which is tied into supply. And so that's what strategy does. Is it finds your advantages and gives you the most precise way to approach, give you the highest likelihood of success based on your strengths and opportunities.
So it's almost as much about telling you what not to do as it is about telling you what to do, right? Like in a world where there's infinite things that you could do, it tells you what to not waste your time and resources on as much as it tells you where to leverage your time and resources most effectively.
Exactly.
I feel like those are not the same thing necessarily.
Yeah, because just like we talked about with the question to you, like a blog post and a blog post are not the same if one is done strategically and aligns with the internal desire of the customer and what they know about the world, and what they know about the other options, and what they know about you, and how it makes them feel. And so knowing all those things it's very customer centric. It's the definition of co-working, just like Liz was talking about around hospitality, which is really about a customer centricity. And so when you know deeply the inner questions, needs, wants of your customer base, then you can be strategic about exactly what you say, where you say it, how you do it, and so forth. Because otherwise you're wasting energy and time. So it's like, to use my other analogy, do you want to use a baseball bat to cut through the dense forest, or do you want to use a sharpened machete? And that's the difference between strategy and no strategy.
I want to use a machete. Machete. That was a movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, where did that? I didn't obscurely make that up.
No, it was
definitely, yeah. And it was with Danny Trejo or whatever his name is. Yeah. Okay, I gotta throw that back on.
Yeah. Machete. Put it in the background.
Machete. I feel like you're doing these a lot more concisely than I am, and I'm just kind of rattling my cage. I'm gonna get in here and stay focused. I'm ready.
Okay. Do you want me to ask you one? An easy one or a hard one?
Whatever. Give me whatever you want. Okay. I'm here. I'm ready.
So if content is subjective, right? If ultimately there's no measuring stick, how do you know if your content is any good? How could someone vet the quality of the product that either you're creating or that they're creating? What's the rule of thumb? How do you know?
So it's kind of, again, going back to the idea of tangible and intangible and both being important. It kind of, on the intangible side, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, about being brand aligned and speaking to an audience. You have to understand who you're talking to and why and how and what the point of it is, in order to know if your content's resonating. So like, look at it like eating at a restaurant, preparing a meal for a customer, right? Like everybody's tastes vary a little bit, but you're going to know that it's good or that people like it if they come back. They make repeat bookings. They tell their friends to come. They refer them. They write positive reviews. So, it might be subjective in terms of everybody's taste is a little bit different, but if you understand who your audience is and you create content for them, then the quantifiable side of things will show you whether or not it's working. Like if I go to an Italian restaurant and they're serving curry, I'll probably be very confused.
Still good, though, in fairness. If it's a good curry,
I still would. Yeah. Actually, what's funny is like we were in England, in London the other week, and like for 30 years or something, curry has been like the number one takeout in Britain. Yeah. To the point that you've heard of tikka masala, obviously, not Indian food. That's just like a British take on Indian food. Yeah, they love it so much that they like made it.
Do you ever have the curry chips with the curry on the French fries?
Oh yeah,
so good.
So good. And I didn't know that existed until I went there. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. So how can you know if it's good? First of all, like you have to start with understanding who your audience is. That's the only way to create content that's going to be good subjectively, right? Like comes back to understanding the strategy. Who are you talking to and why? And then you can tap into things like, how many views are your articles getting? How much engagement are you getting on social media? If you're sending out emails, emails are really good quantifiable marketing tool because you can, send out a broadcast email with a blog post in it, for instance, and you're going to know pretty quickly whether people are resonating with that or not by how many people clicked on it. Things like that. If you do this for a month and you send out 4 different blog posts and one of them has a spike in clicks in your email, you're going to know that you're probably along the right lines. Whereas if it gets ignored, then maybe you're doing something that's not being received so well with your audience. You're serving them curry when they wanted Italian food, and you can pivot. Maybe it's a hybrid Italian curry, but there's ways that there are. Yeah, no, I'm really trying to drag these these analogies out of my brain, but no. So there's the intangibles, right? Like, is it aligned with your audience? And then there's the more tangible elements of looking at your metrics, looking at Google Analytics, looking at social media engagement, looking at email engagement, and then figuring out from there whether people are resonating with it. Because content is subjective, but the way to create content that is subjectively good is to create it for your audience and only for your audience, not to try to create something that's for everyone. They say, create content for a specific person. Don't try to create it for everybody.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, like, one of the things I look for is, like, if I'm reading an article, do I feel like reading it? Like, if I'm 3 sentences in and do I want to keep reading this or not? Now, the challenge with that is, and the easier it is to just keep reading, the more compelling the content is. However, if you are not your customer, your eyes will glaze over when you're saying something that could be perfectly insightful for the right person at the right time who may want to buy your stuff. But for whatever reason, they're just, like, not interested, or you're not interested because you're not the buyer. And so it's tricky. Yeah. It's a tricky proxy, right? It's like, yeah.
Well, it comes back to the self-qualification thing, right? Like, if you're creating content that's for your audience, then your audience will probably resonate with it. And if you're not the audience, then it doesn't resonate with you, then it's okay, because it probably wouldn't be a fit for you anyways. It's like a self-qualification process, right? When people, all the content that you see on a space's social media or blog or email are all indicators of what you're going to get when you're there. So you don't need to be booking a tour if it's not a fit for you. It saves you time, saves them time. Right? Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
I had a really good point that I was just going to make too, and then it just. Is it possible to still be jet lagged after 8 days? I thought I'm going to blame it on that.
It's just your brain. Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about consumption and stuff. Like, do you want to actually consume it or not? And I think it's a tough one. It's tough, right, to quantify that. And I think ultimately, like, are people buying your stuff or not? And sometimes it's like there's a lot of magic that happens in marketing, and people hate that, because I'm like, we're going to do all these things, and there's a certain amount of serendipity and luck and magic that kind of happens. And for the logical-minded person like me, it's like, it's frustrating when someone says that to you. And yet it
is. But it's interesting. Oh, this is what I was going to say. Like, the marketing for co-working is so interesting, especially from a content perspective, right? Because let's say that you have, like, a SaaS product, and you can market that product to a specific type of, like, organization or professional, and they can be anywhere in the world, right? It's a lot easier to create really pointed, focused content that's going to go right after them. Like, maybe, your scope broadens a little bit depending on the various interests or pain points or whatever they have that you can, bring them in with. But with co-working, it's such a finicky thing to market for, because if you're like a traditional co-working space, you've got private offices, maybe enterprise, dedicated desk co-working, meeting rooms, hot desks. Each of those products is going to have a unique audience or a unique buyer. And then each of those buyers is going to have unique reasons why they're buying. And then so to create content that speaks to all of them is really hard. So kind of trying to figure out where the priorities are and how to put those pieces together in a way that speaks to people. It's a really unique challenge that I don't think you would get in many other industries other than this one.
Yeah. I mean, as you're familiar with this, but, like, by definition, you and I, when we create content like this podcast, it is not interesting, first of all, to a bunch of people in our industry, probably. No, I'm just kidding. It is not interesting to most of the world, and it's only going to be interesting if you're in the co-working industry and you're an operator. Yeah. So by definition, you're excluding most people most of the time, and that's kind of what you're challenging with, is when you have multiple customer segments. How do you communicate to very different buyer types? People who run Fortune 500 remote satellite teams versus a brand new freelancer, just very different needs and wants. Stuff.
Yeah, but even for this podcast, like, we have, even though we're in a narrow niche, there's only really so many types of people in this industry that are going to find this interesting. Whereas in co-working, when you're marketing, you're kind of multiple niches and multiple different sub niches within that, and then
personalities and identities.
trying to sub target that and
Yeah.
figure out what works.
And
But
that sounds like
yeah,
where strategy comes in, right?
that sounds like exactly where strategy comes in, and it's exactly why you shouldn't do anything sans strategy. For
Yeah.
anybody who's not from Canada, that means
Without.
without strategy.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good French term there. Yeah, I mean, you
Thanks.
can do it. I think like for a lot of people, I don't want to make it seem like strategy is some nebulous thing that you have to like be fancy to do. Like it's just kind of be intentional. Like the best way I do strategy when I'm doing content is, let's say I'm trying to get Taylor to buy something. I write something to Taylor based on what I know about Taylor, what I know about his wants, needs, challenges, of which there are many, and just writing about that. And
Many challenges
yes, that's what I meant.
and wants. The needs are few.
You're right. A lot of wants, a lot of challenges.
A lot of wants, a lot of problems.
But that's like ultimately the definition of empathy. It's like just really communicating to specific people, and it's okay to talk to Taylor today and to Kevin tomorrow and to so on and so the next day, because eventually they'll find the common thread, and ideally you're doing that in a unifying way that says, I know Taylor, I know so and so, you're all different people with vastly different needs, but the common thread here is you're all here to be productive, to grow your business, to enjoy what you're doing, enjoy your work day,
yeah,
and maybe meet new people or whatever. But there's always a common thread, and I think that's the definition of good strategy, is finding that common thread to unify it all. It's not easy.
No notes.
Yeah.
No notes on that one.
No, that was just right off the dome.
That was crazy. All right. Where am I at with my questions to you?
Well, we've probably got a couple more, maybe one more, one or two more kind of thing.
Ooh. Okay, well then I'm going to skip these kind of middle ones that I had written for you here, because I think this next one's kind of important. So because this kind of piggybacks off that concept that we were just talking about, how unique co-working is as an industry, and as a result, how unique co-working for our industry is. So this is kind of a two-parter. The first one being, what's the most overrated marketing tactic you see operators wasting money on? And then the second part of that question that maybe kind of is answered in the same one, but I wanted to call it out specifically, is what's one piece of conventional marketing wisdom that you don't think applies in the co-working world?
Yeah, I mean, those are two very different questions that have very different and difficult answers, right? Like, I think it really comes down to, yeah, exactly. I think you might be stumping me here, and I just broke my pointer stick. You might be stumping me here. So I think any tactic or any channel rather, so whether that's content, ads, SEO, events, which is a form of marketing, they can all work if done, if committed, if you commit to it, right? So I would say, if I were to say like what do people kind of do that they shouldn't, it's trying to do too many things.
Yeah.
And the longer I do this, the more I learn to double down on the few things that are working the best and to commit to them to an unreasonable level. So a lot of people dabble in ads, they dabble in content, they dabble on social, they dabble in email, they dabble in events. But I was kind of saying this to you the other day, like, what if a co-working space went all in on content and didn't do ads, or at least didn't make that the main thing? And so what would you have to do to make up for the ad spend? You'd have to go all in on content, including maybe programming and events in the space. And like, imagine there was like a daily vlog, and imagine you had a podcast, and imagine you had this, and you're featuring people in the local community, you're bringing in influential members of the business community in your area, whatever. And you really went all in, went high production, you're just all day, every day. You have a YouTube channel, you're literally publishing multiple pieces. That could work as well, but it would mean you wouldn't have time, energy, or money to do all the other things. Yeah. And so I think the worst thing you could do is to try to stretch yourself too thin. Yes, we need to do as many things as we can, but really then we got to ask ourselves honestly, where are we spending our time and our money? And where can we commit at a deeper level? So if you're going to do content, how do you commit more deeply and really do email automation well, and really do your blog and your SEO and your content, that way, and really do social media at a high level, and introduce more video through your website and all those things? Or if you're going to do ads, like making sure you're on all the platforms, your retargeting is very good. The creative is extremely good. The retargeting is on point. The prospecting is on point. The multi-channel thing, like going in and really being dialed in there, would help a lot. So I think my answer to that is kind of dabbling in too many things without going deep in any one. At least go deep in one, and then.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important, an important exercise to get dialed in on one or two key things to your point first. Like, maybe if you want to add something later, fine, but make sure that the few things that you're doing really well first before you try to go broader, right?
Yeah,
I
or
mean
just
that
figuring out, yeah, like what tool you're going to use to really get the word out there, and it all has to map holistically. Like if you're not doing any programming, doing content's going to be hard. If you don't have anything interesting to say about your space, content marketing is going to be tough. But if you're doing programming and you have lots of interesting people and you're invested in creating an experience, then content marketing is all about sharing the experience and making it fun and showing, and having a hook that gets people excited.
yeah,
But you have to
100%.
know what your strengths are.
Good answer. I can't believe we're at 55 minutes already. Time flies when you're sweating under pressure.
When the lights are on. And there was one other question you said, so that was overrated tactic. I don't know if there's any overrated. What was the second part of that?
The first was overrated tactics, and the second one was any conventional marketing wisdom that you think doesn't quite apply in the co-working world.
Yeah, and I think just on that note, similar to doing all things at a surface level, I think trying to serve all people at a surface level also is a big problem. So I'd much rather people take an opinionated stance to their product and their business and stop trying to appeal to everyone with a credit card and focused more on a specific type of identity, type of person, driving factors, common threads, like what is it, and really doubling down on a smaller group of people deeply and solving all their pains and challenges and needs versus trying to go service and just making a space and having all the services for all the people, because most of it's not profitable in any business. 20% of your what you do is driving most of your results. 20% of your customer types are driving most of your profit. So it's much like with the marketing activities, it's focusing on your customer.
A good answer. A good sound answer.
A good sounding answer.
A good sounding answer. I say a lot of words. It's like from The Office when he says, sometimes I start a sentence and I don't even know where I'm going. I just hope I find it along the way.
It's literally, my brain's like AI, just kind of just generating the next word at any given time. Okay, I'm going to leave you on one question, and then we'll wrap it up here. If you could only focus on, say, one channel, let's say you were a single channel content marketing specialist, what would it be and why? If you had to choose one.
I would say email marketing, because I think it's, as far as all the content channels go, it's the one that you own it. You own the list, right? Like if you're on social media and you have followers, you're at the mercy of the algorithms. If the algorithms change, who knows what happens to your reach? If your social platform shut down tomorrow, you lose all that whole audience that you have. Your blog is great too, but SEO takes time, and building community around a blog takes time. So email is kind of like your most direct platform. It also, there's an ownership stake to it. I think of it like maybe this analogy will land. You'll have to tell me. Like, it's kind of like getting a phone number from somebody at the bar, because you kind of have to be authentic and smooth to get that phone number, right?
Yeah.
But once you get it, that means that person has given you, they expect you to contact them, right? Right. You have permission to reach out to them. You're reaching out to them directly. And if you're smart, then you're thinking really, really critically about what you're communicating to them. But you have your contact list forever. So I would say email marketing. I think it's, statistically, I think it's the highest ROI platform.
Yeah.
We did talk about that. I think it's like
4,000% ROI or something. Which
I didn't want to butcher that.
It's like 40 times.
Yeah. That being said, though, like what you just said before about having to have programming and things to inform your content, you also, I think, need to have content to inform your email. So if I had to pick one, to be email, but also I'd strongly encourage you to use the others too. Like, have a blog that you can share an email. Right?
Well, here's the thing. I think most people of all the content channels are using email the least, or at least the least effectively.
And I think using it the least effectively is definitely true. I think that most operators that I've seen definitely use it to some degree, but like, email's so powerful, right? There's so many things that you can do with it. You can use it externally for that top of funnel awareness and consideration. You can also use it for retention, right? And that you can automate a lot of, like, without going down this rabbit hole right now, there's a lot you can automate so that your marketing is actually working on autopilot in the background, even without you having to look at it constantly. So most of what I see is, operators are sending a newsletter once a month with, sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're not so good. But I think it's underutilized in its full capacity, which is it's incredibly
Like no list
technical.
segmentation, no automations. Yeah,
Yeah, 100%. And I don't blame them because it's really hard to do properly. But when
yes,
you have that in place, it's like as soon as an office opens up, can you have an automation that sends out, an email that this office is available to everybody who's interested in offices, So there's a lot you can
and
do.
brokers and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I'm with you. I think I would land on the same thing, which is tricky because it's more of a consideration thing and less of a top of funnel. And most of us think of top of funnel as your main thing. But I think like everything again, like if you're very good at social and you're savvy as an operator or you have access to people who are, and you can make it work, like social could be your best friend. But a lot of people leave that also, on the grapevine unless they have those skills. So it's kind of like any channel can be powerful if you really
Yeah.
lean into it.
Yeah, agreed. But I do think email is
Yeah.
it's your best bet.
Yeah.
And if you want to use it, dive into it, get into the nitty gritty and learn how to maximize it.
Yeah. And that's an evergreen pursuit. Even for us who've been doing this a long time, there's so much more to learn. It's like the infinite loop.
It never ends.
Yeah.
It never ends. The best you can do is just try to keep current.
Yeah.
And implement things and test things as you go and keep what works and leave what doesn't.
Love it. All right. Well, we'll wrap it there. Where can we go to find out more about you, Taylor, and what you do?
You can visit me at tailmaker.ca or find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest and most direct way. How about you?
Everspaces.com.
I'm so bad.
Everspaces.
I'm so bad with these outros.
Yeah, I know. That's why I started off. You can learn more about me at everspaces.com. All my stuff is very specific and laid out. I'm also on LinkedIn, and we'll see what the GWA conference in a few weeks in Chicago. I'm excited about that. And
Looking forward to it.
If you're listening to this, I hope you join the panel and come say hi to us. I'm friendly. Taylor, not so much, but you come say hi to us in the hallway. And
depends on my mood.
Yeah. No, he's always friendly. He's awesome.
I'm like a cat. You never know what you're going to get.
No, he's definitely a dog. You know exactly what you're going to get. Yeah. His tail's going to be wagging.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun. And also, if you have any questions like these, feel free to bring them up to us at the conference.
Bring them up to Taylor. I don't know if I'll be prepared for any hard questions, but yeah.
I won't, but I'm not afraid to sweat in public, so let's do it.
Wear your makeup, sir. Wear your makeup.
Powdered and ready to go.
And okay, well, we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks all for listening. If you got to the end, you are an amazing person, so thank you, and we'll see you the next time.
Catch you next time.